curious, resilient, sensitive. I was in advertising, television, marketing, branding, cinema for the first 20 years of my career, working with my own advertising company in joint venture with Lintas Worldwide. That was a different culture. The work culture required you to be intuitive, very sensitive, creative, impulsive, to rely on your instinct to a large extent. It was a service industry, so you had to be very responsive, very customer oriented. That was the priority. And even more importantly, you had to have very well developed communication skills and skills of expression. Then I moved around 10 years back to working in the family office Kirloskar Systems with my late husband Vikram Kirloskar, which was a business conglomerate of automobile companies, automobile manufacturing joint ventures with a large Japanese major. That was a very, very different work culture. It required restraint. It required working with a very large scale. So it required to be very process driven, less impulsive, less intuitive, and more studied and careful approach. It also meant working with Japanese joint venture partners, whereas earlier I was working with American joint venture partners. Again, the two cultures are different. They're both global, they're both international. In both cases, I was working with a joint venture. So I did understand and realize the importance of working in collaboration. It's not about modernizing a legacy business. Legacy business in today's world, as time goes on, you have to keep adjusting and modifying it. Legacy has to be adaptive today because it's a very volatile environment. In fact, volatility is the new normal. So you can't really blindly follow the processes and the systems and the manner of working that you followed in the last 100 years. In any case, you have to adapt to the new environment. So I wouldn't call it modernizing. I would say legacy businesses must be adaptive, they must be innovative, and they must also allow room for flexibility. Business models might change. You might decide to exit a product category. You might decide to completely exit a particular sector of the industry or the business and use your existing synergies and core competencies to get into a slightly different industry or sector. You might develop new revenue streams. You might need a completely new work culture. So to that extent, you have to be responsive and adaptive to the environment, and that is exactly what people like us in legacy business today do if we are to stay relevant and if we are to stay successful. Right from the very start, quite honestly, we were very risk averse. As far as our wealth portfolio is concerned, as far as our businesses are concerned, we take risks. So when we invest in our joint venture businesses and as we grow and expand them, we are already taking a risk. And it's a calculated risk, but it's a huge risk. So when it comes to our wealth portfolio, our personal wealth portfolio, we are rather risk averse. We are quite conservative. We're looking at low risk, medium returns. You need the titles, you need the networks, and you certainly need the money if you want to give back. You have to have something in order to give. So it is very important to have that. In fact, I remember an industrialist, I don't recall the name, but it was at some seminar that we were listening to him. They asked him, what is most important about your wealth? Being wealthy, what does it enable you to do? He says it enables me to give back a lot more. You have a lot more power to be able to give back. So if you have the wealth, then you also have the power to give back. And that is important to understand. There is the intangible lies in the fact that when you are giving back, you are also integrating a certain culture of community service and respect for society in your organization and in your family. And that intangible is very, very important because sometimes philanthropy goes beyond the wallet. I think it's very, very important not to carry your stress home. And this I learned from my late husband Vikram. He never ever carried his stress home. And I realized for him it was non-negotiable. And in a silent way, he set the example, because for me, the lines are very blurred sometimes between my mood and my mindset when I'm at work. And when I come home, I tend to carry that back. So I think it's very important, and this is non-negotiable, because don't forget, it impacts your entire family. It impacts the little children who are growing. It impacts the elders who are staying with you. So it's not fair to ruin the environment or the vibe in the house when you're back in the evening, and you need to leave that behind. Focus on measurable contribution to your work, setting aside preoccupations of gender bias. Today, you are judged more on the strength of ideas, viability of business models, and the ability to execute. There is very little room for mediocrity today. That is a positive shift for us women, I would think, because gender bias may not impact to a large extent if we deliver. Excellence will stand out. It is also important, I believe, to be multidimensional. Beyond work, balance with other interests, music, sport, travel, whatever you enjoy, art, and open your mind to new perspectives, because that is going to help you greatly back at work. Mountaineering was a very refreshing sport. It taught us spirit of adventure, to think quickly in a crisis, to endure rigor, to work as a team, to live simple, and above all, to appreciate natural beauty, the peace that serenity brings. This is a much needed break from the stressful business and social engagements that we live with. My very first golf set, since it was gifted by my husband Vikram, and the important thing is that I took it for my first lesson at the golf club, and I think I did quite well with it. So that golf club has huge memories, and it's almost 16 years old. So I have honestly bought a new golf set, but I don't dispose this off at all, because it's a very, very prized possession with me. Coincidentally and interestingly, I have just started reading King of Kings on the 1979 Iranian Revolution, since it was just gifted to me 2 weeks ago. And alongside it, just to, soften the mood as such, and to sort of internalize art and poetry a little more, because when you read that kind of book, you need to balance it a little. I'm also reading something called The Art of Expression by Sanjeev Saraf on Urdu poetry. Again, contradictory. Just like the two books I'm reading are contradictory, even in music and my genres of music, when I unwind, I like to have that little contradiction. So I love heartland rock, Bruce Springsteen, and then Indian and Western classical and opera. Andy Warhol, khichdi and chili cheese toast. Well, it's less power, it's more based on comfort. A crisp, pin-tucked cotton kurta with a chudidar. My lip gloss, because for the dryness. A Nobel laureate on one hand, or a disruptive painter or sculptor on the other hand. One for their humility against a brilliant mind, the other for their disruptive creativity and to challenge the norm. My school motto, never give in. Playing golf on the most challenging golf courses in the world, hiking in a remote, unique landscape at the other end of the world, off the grid as they call it, and attending my grandchildren's college graduation. While committing to stay relevant to our business, I don't want to ever stop working, but the role that I play, the quality and level of value add will be very, very different, and I would love to represent Indian industry on global platforms.